Hey guys, welcome to another D&D Thursday. Let's dive behind the screens and talk about today's topic, which is player management. Now, I've only had a couple of different games. Again, I'm a noob at this, so if you have other ideas, share with me. But here's what I have found that works really well. So you have a variety of different types of players who show up at your table. You have players who are the perfect player. They are highly invested, send you 6-page backstories, want to role play the entire character, never breaking character, using voices. That's like an ideal situation, I think, for any DM, is to have even one. If you have more than one of those players, then you're like amazing, everything is great. Then you also have players who disengage from the game, who are very engaged when it's their turn, but they don't pay attention when other players are taking their turn, or, you know, in the middle of combat, especially if you have a lot of people around the table, they can just like get on their phone and do whatever. And I actually have been prone to do this, so I think about it a lot now, having run my own games where this has happened. What to do in that situation is just say, hey, no phones at the table, or ask them to, you know, like, pay attention. You can do it subtly, or maybe during a break, you can ask them to just like, hey, you know, it's a little distracting when you have your phone at the table. I understand if you're looking up spells, but if you're on Twitter, like, I love tweeting, but maybe wait until the game is over, or maybe save that Instagram photo for when the game is finished and you guys have completed the rest of the scenario. Players who just are not able to focus. Everybody knows that person who is amazing and wonderful, but has a little bit of trouble, whether it's ADD or, you know, just they were hopped up on caffeine, they had too much coffee that morning, who are just like all over the place. Being able to incorporate their character into the story and really draw them in by being a good DM, sharing what their character is doing or things that are happening to their character, you know, being able to pull them back into the story and have, you know, another character come up and work on a role play scenario with you. You know, if you do have other players at your table who are good role players, they can often help with this situation and like draw that other person in by saying, I offer her a glass of wine. Or, you know, like, he saw your attack that you just did, and sees that the goblin is almost down. You shoot an arrow. Like, there are ways to, in role-playing as well as in combat scenarios, for other players to help you help focus players whose attention might be wandering. Other types of issues that I've seen or that I've run into are players that are so excited that they like can't focus on the game. They're up out of their seat. They like are standing and walking around, and that can be distracting to some players. So unless you have a really good group that understands that this person is always going to be that way, sometimes it's like, okay, sit down, let's talk about what's going on, let's work through it, let's finish this combat encounter, you know, you're doing great, you know, being able to break a little bit and like get them to take a breath so that they can like, oh, right, we're imagining this in our heads. And while there may be miniatures and terrain on the table in front of you, it's not always appropriate for you to be up walking around like, oh my God, what are you gonna do next? It's like, that might not work for the other people at the table. So helping them realize the things that they're doing may affect the other players around them is very important. And then what to do about players who metagame. Okay, so this is a really sticky situation. If you have players who've been playing D&D for a long time, they know a lot of the monsters, they know a lot of the different caster classes, they can infer a lot from a scenario without having investigated or like gotten all the clues. They can just like jump to it because they have the knowledge. However, in the game, their character doesn't know these things yet, most likely. So unless they are the type of character who you can say, okay, actually, I want you to make an intelligence check for me to find out if you actually know that piece of information, which is actually a really great way to deal with it. If you have a player who says, oh my god, I know what this monster is, it's a blah 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 blah, say, make that intelligence check, and if he rolls poorly, then you can say, nope, you have no idea what this monster is, or you remember reading that book. It was in the library in the tall tower, and in it, it mentioned a monster that had multiple tentacles and a large slathering mouth. You do know what this is. Being able to pull them back into the story and out of their metagame moment can help alleviate that, as well as telling your players, please don't metagame. If you're at a break, you know, and it seems to be getting worse and it's like infecting others, because sometimes that happens, being able to tell them, guys, please don't metagame. They'll usually respect the GM or DM enough to go, oh, right, you don't like that, never mind. We'll do better, we'll do better. The other side of that is if they start talking out of character or just saying, well, my character would totally say this, make it happen. So I had a player who one time said, well, I just walk in and go, hey, what's up, bro? And she was like, no, I'm kidding. I was like, well, no, you walked up to him and said, hey, what's up, bro? And that actually started the fight. So everyone roll initiative. And it was completely her fault because she said, hey, what's up, bro? And totally ruined the like stealth that they were doing. And she was saying it off the cuff. She didn't actually mean it for in-game, but because she had just sort of been talking about things for a while, I wanted to really reiterate that when you're talking about your character and you're talking about what's going on in the game, it's really what's going on in the game. These are just sort of like things that I've learned over the little bit that I have had to play with people and try to manage people and players, and everybody's different. And everyone walks into a game expecting a different experience, and you as the DM are trying to cater to those experiences but make it an even playing field for everyone. Yeah, I like my players to role play. I like my players to work together as a team in character, but I give them a little leeway. You know, they're also regular people with regular lives whose wives are gonna text them and be like, hey, are you finished playing that D&D game yet? It's been like 8 hours. And you're like, no, sorry, honey, I'm still going. Or it's like, you know, you never know. You never know why someone might need to pick up their phone or might need to step away from the table or might need to talk about something else for a little bit. Maybe the scene is just too intense and they have to take a break. That has happened. So being conscientious of the state that your players are in plays a lot into being able to manage your players to make it a good experience for everybody. So those are just a few of my tips and tricks for different player related management that you might run into. What tricks have you found as you've been playing with your people, your teams, your parties? Has there been that one moment where you're like, this is the preeminent moment where I was just like, nope, I can't handle this anymore? Have you ever kicked anybody out of a game because they were acting up so much and you couldn't get them under control? Have you ever had to like, tell me your stories. I want to know, because the more I know, the better prepared I am for when that happens to me. But yes, so that was kind of the topic I wanted to talk about today. The reason being mainly because now that I am DMing for 8 middle schoolers at one time, I'm learning a lot about that. I'm gonna have a whole lot more to give to this topic at a later date, but at the moment, just being able to manage different personalities and trying to keep everyone calm, cool, collected, and be able to share this group adventure it can be a challenge sometimes, but you know, pulling their focus back in, having players, you know, alluding to characters doing things if someone's attention is wandering. It's like, well, he walks over to you and he says blah, 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 is really, really helpful. So definitely share your tips in the comments below for other DMs and GMs. And until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next Thursday for another installment of Behind the Screen. All right, bye guys.